द्वयोः वेदयोः ऋग् यजुर् घनस्तरे पर्यन्तं निपुणः ते प्रवचनम् आरम्भते। प्रयोग श्रौत वाक्यार्थेषु प्राधिकारी भगवद्गीतायां च पारङ्गतः षडङ्ग तर्क वेदान्त इत्येषु विशेषप्रवीणः।
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। विद्यागुरून् पितरौ ईश्वरं च नमस्कृत्य वेदाध्ययनविषये एवं वेदपठनविषये वेद उच्चारणविषये वक्तुम् उत्सहे। वेदाः भारतीयसंस्कृतेः प्राचीनतमाः पवित्रतमाः ग्रन्थाः। ते चत्वारः ऋग्वेदः यजुर्वेदः सामवेदः अथर्वणश्च इति प्रसिद्धः विषयः। Last time we had looked at the meaning and prayojana of Vedas. This year we will be focusing on the chanting of the Vedas. And the chanting of the Vedas is very strict. There are lots of rules that govern how we have to chant the Vedas. That is why the Upanishad says, Shiksham Vyaakhyasyamaha Varnasvaraha Matra Balam Samasantanaha Ityukta Dhyayaha. So the Vedas and the Upanishads, they themselves give 6 criteria that are needed when chanting Vedas, which are Varna, Swara, Matra, Balam, Sama, and Santanaha. The first one is pronunciation of the aksharas. The aksharas are known as varnas. And the swara, the udata, anudata, swarita, and prachaya swaras. The matra. Now the hrasva swaras, the hrasva aksharas have the ekamatra. The dirgha aksharas have 2 matras. And there are also other plutas with, there are also aksharas with 3 or 4 matras as well in Vedas. And balam, the prayatna, the emphasis given while chanting. Sama and santana. Sama meaning uniformity, and santana meaning continuous chanting. So we shouldn't be going fast and then going slow again. So there has to be sama and santana, meaning uniformity and a continuous chant. And relating to this, there are also 6 things that one should not do. There's a shloka that is prasiddha that says the 6 types of people that should not chant Veda. Who are they? Giti Shigri Shirahkampi Tatha Likhita Pathakaha Anartagnolpakanthascha Shatete Pathaka Dhamaha. The first one is Giti, the one that sings the Vedas in his own tune, that is different from the swaras that are prescribed by the Maharishis. He is called Giti, Gita meaning song. Shigri, the one who is in a rush, who says very fast, so fast that even the Ucharana may be compromised. He is called Shigri. Evam Shirah Kampi, the one that moves his head while chanting. He is known as Shirah Kampi. Tatha Likhita Pathakaha, the one that reads from a book. Veda should not be learnt from a book, but even after learning from Guru Mukhata, it should be memorized and chanted. So, Likhita Bhatakaha, Anarthagnaha, the one that has not studied the Veda Bhashya, who does not know the meaning. Alpakanthascha, Alpakantha means the one that mumbles the Vedas. When the Vedas are chanted, they should be chanted loudly with dhairya. The person that mumbles the Vedas is also not fit for learning. Shat ete. These 6 are Pathaka Dhamaha. They are the lowest of the Vedic chanters or learners, and they are unfit for chanting. Like that, also we have various modes of chanting. The Samhita Patha, Pada Patha, Krama Patha, Jata, and Ghana. So for these, there is one shloka that gives the Phalashruti. संहिता पाठमात्रेण यत्फलं प्रोच्यते बुधैः पदे तु द्विगुणं विद्यात् क्रमे तु च चतुर्गुणं वर्णक्रमे शतगुणं जटायां तु सहस्रकम्. So we have 4 main types of chanting along with the varnakrama in Krishna Yajurveda. So the first one is Samhita Pathamatrena. the mantra portion or the samhita with all the words combined as you can see in the book, that is called samhita because it is a collection of the padas. So that continuous chanting, as the normal chanting we use in all our day-to-day mantras and everything, that is called the Samhita Patha. So Samhita Patha matrena yat phalam prochate budhehi. Whatever is the phala that is said by the learned people, pade tu dvigunam vidyat. By chanting the padas separately, by splitting the words, the splitting the mantra into padas or the individual words and giving a full stop or virama at the end of each word, that is called padapatha. That you get twice the amount of phala. Pade tu dvigunam vidyat. Krame tu cha chaturgunam. And by chanting the krama mode of Veda, the one that may be most prasiddha is maybe the Rudra Krama. So for that, when you take two words at a time, one, two, and then pause, two, three, three, four, four, five, and like that, when you chant the Vedas, that is called Kramapadha, and that is called that gives Chaturgunam, or that gives four times the benefit compared to the Samhita normal Patha. Varnakrame Shatagunam. And by chanting the Varnakrama Patha, where we have all the Lakshanas, and chanting the Lakshanas of each Akshara, what is the Devata, what is the Jati, what is the Utpatti Sthana, like that, we have this very complex form called Varnakrama, which is known as Lakshana, which is at the very end of Vedic learning. That gives Shatagunam. So by chanting the Varnakrama of a pada or of a mantra, we get 100 times the phala of just normally chanting the mantra as per Samhita mode. And Jatayantu Sahasragam. And by chanting the same mantra in the Jata Patha, we get 1,000 times. That is why all the elders they used to arrange Jata Parayanas in all the temples. Because if you say Rudram once in maybe 10 minutes or so, if that same Rudra to say in Jata can take roughly 1 hour or even slightly longer. And that gives 1,000 times the benefit. Jatayantu Sahasrakam. So, like this, we have the Phalashruti. Now, I will be taking one mantra and going over all the Vikriti Pathas that are said by the Vedas. So, the shloka I said that mostly is for the Krishna Yajurveda. For the Rig Veda and the Shukla Yajurveda, we have this thing called the Ashtau Vikritihi or Ashta Vikritihi. So, we have 8 Vikriti Pathas. In that, for Krishna Yajurveda, they consider the Samhita or the normal mantra that we say as the original format of the Vedas. So if you say Ishetva, Jetva, Bhagavastha, Bhagavastha, this is known as the original. But as per Rig Veda, the pada is the original. When you split each word and chant it, that is the original, and the compilation of the padas is known as Samhita. So in the Krishna Yajurveda, mostly in the Vyavaharika, they say Samhita is the Prakrti or original, and Pada, Krama, Jata, and Ghana are the 4 Vikritis. But per Shukla Yajurveda and Rigveda, Krama Paryantam is Prakriti. That's why in the shloka we will see next, it says Kramapurva Maharshibhi. So Pada is the original form of the Vedas, like Agnim, Ile, E. When we split all the words, the swaras change, and you have to do the Padavichhed. That is the original form, and the compilation of that became the Samhita. And they count Samhita, Pada, and Krama. These 3 pathas are modes of chanting as Prakriti, and then Ashtau Vikritis, or 8 Vikritis after Krama, which are Jata, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dvajo, Dando, Ratho, Ghana. Ashtau Vikrtayah Proktaha Kramapurva Maharshibihi. So we have 8 Vikritis on top of that. Jata, Mala, Shikha, Rekha, Dwaja, Danda, Ratha, and Ghana. After the Krama. So these are the 8 Vikritis as per Rigveda. And on top of this, we have the Panchasandhi Ghana, and some of the Vikritis have multiple modes of chanting. For example, the Ratha Pata, the Ratha or chariot or vehicle, that has 3 modes of chanting. The one for two-wheel chariot, three-wheel chariot, and four-wheel chariot. And for Mala chanting as well, there is the Kramamala and the Pushpamala and the Panchasandhi and the Panchasandhi Yukta Ghana Pata, which is known as the Ghana Vallabha. So, like this, there are more than a dozen ways of chanting a mantra. Now, we will take one mantra as an example and go over the various Ashto Vikritis as per Rig Veda. because not all the Vikritis exist in Krishna Yajurveda, and for most of the Krishna Yajurveda mantras, they cannot be said as well, because we need a mantra sankhya and chandas. So for Rig Veda, since it is there by nature, since it is Rig or poetry, we can take one mantra and see that in multiple ways. The Samhita mantra or the Mula mantra is Oshadhayas samvadante somena saharajñā yasmai granoti brahmanastam rajan paragamasi. This is the original mantra. So this mantra consists of 11 padas, 6, 12 padas, 6 in the first vakya and 6 in the second vakya. This mantra can be said in the padapatha, padacheda purvakaha mantrapatha, and the padapatha meaning we do the padacheda and we chant it. ओषधयः संवदन्ते सोमेन सह राज्ञा यस्मै कृणोति ब्राह्मणः तं राजन् पारयामसि. So as we saw in the Samhita Patha, the swaras are very different now. So the Padavichhedaha Asamhitaha, Padavichhedo Samhitaha is the Lakshana of Pada. So by splitting the words, so for example, when we say Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vigno Vashante, everybody knows this. So the Pada is saying Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam. But in the shlokas, we don't have the swaras. But in the mantras, all the swaras will change, so it becomes complicated. And then the next is Kramapatha. Kramapatha means you take two words and you say them together, and then you leave the first word and say the next two words, and leave the second word and say the next two words, and so on. It is said in a krama. In the same mantra will be Oshadhagasam Samvadante Vadante Somena Saha Saharajñā Rajñet Rajñā Yasmai Kranoti Brahmanah Brahmanastam Tam Rajan Paragamasi Ti Paragamasi. So this is the Krama format. Until this we saw as Prakrti. And then the Vikriti Pathas. The Vikriti Pathas are you take the same two words you took in Krama and you say it once in the forward order, once in the reverse order, and once again in the forward order in one breath. Meaning 6 padas in one breath. For example, Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum, Vishnum Shuklam Varadaram, Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum. And then you have to say the Veshtana because Shuklam Varadaram consists of two words, Shukla Ambaradaram. So then you have to say the Veshtana with the Itikara. So for this same mantra, the Jata goes as Oshadhagasam Samoshadhaga Oshadhagasam Sambadante Vadante Sambadante Vadante Somena Vadante Somena Saha Somena Saharajñā Rajñā Saharajñā Rajñā Yasmai Kranoti Kranoti Brahmanah Kranoti Brahmanastam tam Brahmanastam tam Rajan Paragamasi Ti Paragamasi. So this is known as the Jata Patha of that. And then the Mala Patha, we have two malas, the Krama Mala and the Pushpa Mala. Just to give an idea of the chanting, we will take one for the time constraint as Krama Mala. That will go as Oshadhagasam Rajne Tirajñā Samvadante Rajñā Saha Vadante Somena Saha Somena Vadante Saharajñā Vadante Sam Rajñet Rajñā Samoshadhayah. So we started with Oshadhayah Sam and we end with Samoshadhayah. So basically we have to take the first two padas and then the last two padas, and then you have to go in the forward direction and come back in the reverse direction. So it will be like that. And then the next mantra of the next vakya of the same mantra, Yasmai Krinoti Paragamasi iti Paragamasi Krinoti Brahmanaha Paragamasi Rajan Brahmanastam Rajamstam Tam Rajan Tam Brahmanaha Rajan Paragamasi Brahmanah Krinoti Paragamasi iti Paragamasi Krinoti Yasmai. So this is also the very difficult mode of chanting, the Kramamala. So if we have 10 words, we have to go first 1, 2, and then 10, the Veshtana of 10, and then 2, 3, and then 10, 9, like that. So you have to know the number of all the padas and be able to say those padas in the reverse order. So this is a very difficult patha called the Kramamala, which is the mala. And then the Shikha. The Shikha is Padottaram Jatameva. So if you add one extra pada to the end of the jata, that becomes as the shikha patha. Like how we do vapana of all the kesha and we just keep the shikha on the top. Like that, we would take the jata and you just give one pada, the third pada, then if as a sample, as the at the end of the vakya. So this will be Om Oshadhagasam Samoshadhaga Oshadhagasam Vadante Sambadante Vadante Sambadante Somena Vadante Somena Somena Vadante Vadante Somena Saha Somena Saha Saha Somena Somena Saharagnya Saharagnya Ragnya Saha Saharagnya राज्ञेतराज्ञा यस्मै कृणोति कृणोति यस्मै कृणोति ब्राह्मणः कृणोति ब्राह्मणो ब्राह्मणः कृणोति ब्राह्मणस्तं ब्राह्मणस्तं तं ब्राह्मणो ब्राह्मणस्तं राजन् राजंस्तं तं राजन् पारगामसि पारगामसि राजन् पारगामसि Paragamasi te Paragamasi. So this is basically just the jata with the third pada at the end. At the end, if there's only two padas, it will be the same as the jata itself. And then the rekha patha. Just to give a completion, I will just give the chanting. You have to take two padas and say it in the forward, reverse, and forward, similar to jata, but all with full stops. And then you take three padas and continue from the second pada. So 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4. And then you start from the third pada and you take four padas 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, like that. 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 3. So, sample for that same mantra is for the Rekha Patha is Oshadhagasam Samoshadhaya Oshadhagasam Sambadante Somena Vadante Sambadante Vadante Somena Saharagnya Ragnya Sahasomena Vadante Somena Saharagnya Ragni Ragnya. And the same mantra, same has to be said for the next vakya. Yasmai Krinoti Yasmai Krinoti Brahmanastam Tam Brahmanah Krinoti Brahmanastam Rajan Paragamasi Rajamstam Brahmanastam Tam Rajan Paragamasi ti Paragamasi. This is the Rekha Patha. The Dhwaja Patha, again, you have to know the first letters and first words and the second words. So you have to take if the mantra consists of two vakyas, you take the first two of the first vakya and the last two of the second vakya. And in the first one, you go in the order, and the second one, you go in the reverse order. So it will be like this. Om Oshadhagasam Paragamasi Paragamasi Samvadante Rajan Paragamasi Vadante Sobena Tam Rajan Somena Saha Brahmanastam Saharagnya Kronoti Brahmanaha Ragni Tiragnya Yasmai Kronoti राज्ञेति राज्ञा कृणोति ब्राह्मणः सह राज्ञा ब्राह्मणस्तं सोमेन सह तं राजन् वदन्ते सोमेन राजन् पारयामसि संवादन्ते पारयामसीति पारयामसि ओषधयः सम्. So this is a very difficult mode of chanting where the odd vakyas are basically the krama. Oshadhyasam sambadante vadante somena. And the even are the reverse krama from the end. So they will merge at one point and then this will go to the second line and that will go to the first line. So as we saw, Yasme Grunoti came twice and then it went to the first line from the second one and the second line from the first one. So this is called the Dhwaja Patha. And the Danda Patha, one form of that is Om Oshadhayassam Samoshadhayaha Oshadhayassam Samvadante Vadante Samoshadhayaha Oshadhayassam Samvadante Vadante Somena Somena Vadante Samoshadhayaha Oshadhayassam Samvadante Vadante Somena Somena Saha Somena Vadante Samoshadhayaha ओषधयः संवादन्ते वदन्ते सोमेन सोमेन सह राज्ञा राज्ञा सह सोमेन वदन्ते समोषधयः ओषधयः संवादन्ते वदन्ते सोमेन सोमेन सह राज्ञा राज्ञेति राज्ञा. So this is the Dandakrama Patha that very famously happened in Kashi. So as we see, we do the Krama Patha, and each time the Krama Patha gets a new pada, the Nutana pada, we say all those padas from the reverse. So 1 2 2 1 1 2 2 3 3 2 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 3 2 1. So the reverse order is very difficult because the swaras will change. So if we have 10 padas, at the end we will go 8 9 9 10, and then after that krama is done, 10 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 has to be said. So this also requires tremendous memory because we have lakhs of padas in Rigveda. And to say this without pustaka for all the mantras is something that is not ordinary at all. And then for the Ratha Pata, again, like I mentioned, we have Dvichakra, Trichakra, and Chatuschakra. I will just give one Vakya of the Chatuschakra for time constraints and go to the next Pata. The Chatuschakra Pata will go as, the Chatuschakra Ratha Pata will go as ओषधगस्सं सोमेन सह यस्मै कृणोति तं राजन् समोषधयः सह सोमेन कृणोति यस्मै राजंस्ताम् ओषधगस्सं सोमेन सह यस्मै कृणोति तं राजन् संवादन्ते सह राज्ञा कृणोति ब्राह्मणः राजन् पारयामसि वदन्ति समोषधयः राज्ञा सह सोमेन ब्राह्मणः कृणोति यस्मै पारयामसि राजंस्तं. Like this, the Chatuschakro Ratha will be there. So it will be Oshadhagasam Samvadante Vadanta Iti Vadante Somena Saha Rajña Rajni Tirajña Yasmai Kronoti Brahmanaha Brahmana Iti Brahmanaha Tam Rajan Paragamasi Iti Paragamasi. And then the final, the eighth Vikriti is called the Ghanapata. Ghanapata we know because that is gives Ananta Phala. Like how we saw Jatayam to Sahasrakam, Ghane Anantam. So the Ghana gives the Ananta, Aparimita, infinite Phalita. So for that we have to take two words initially and say that in the forward and reverse, and then take three words and then say that in the forward, the reverse, and then again end in the forward direction. For example, you have Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam. You can take these three words. First you say Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum, Vishnum Shuklam Varadharam, and then you say this with three words. Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam, Shashivarnam Vishnum Shuklam Varadaram, Shuklam Varadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam. And with the appropriate Vaishna, Shukla Ambaradaram iti Shukla Ambaradaram. And we have to say it like that. So this is the Ghanapatha. For that, it will be like this. ओषाधगस्सं समोषाधग ओषाधगस्सं वादन्ते वदन्ते समोषाधग ओषाधगस्सं वादन्ते. संवादन्ते वदन्ते संवादन्ते सोमेन सोमेन वदन्ते संवादन्ते सोमेन वदन्ते सोमेन सोमेन वदन्ते वदन्ते सोमेन सह सोमेन वदन्ते वदन्ते सोमेन सह सोमेन सह सोमेन सोमेन सह राज्ञा सह सोमेन सोमेन सह राज्ञा सह राज्ञा राज्ञेति राज्ञा यस्मै कृणोति यस्मै कृणोति ब्राह्मणः कृणोति यस्मै कृणोति ब्राह्मणः कृणोति ब्राह्मणस्तं तं ब्राह्मणः कृणोति ब्राह्मणस्तं तं ब्राह्मणस्तं राजन्स्तं ब्राह्मणस्तं राजन्स्तं तं राजन् पारगामसि राजंस्तं तं राजन् पारयामसि राजन् पारयामसीति पारयामसि. So this is just an overview of the Ashtavikritis. Of course, on top of this, there is the Panchasandhi and the Panchasandhi Yukta Ghana, where we take the same two words and say them in 5 sandhis. 1 2 2 2 2 1 1 1 1 2. This is known as Panchasandhi. And for each Ghana Vakya, you can do it with Panchasandhi, which is known as Panchasandhi Ghana Yukta Ghana Patha, which is said to be even higher than the Ghana Patha. So, like this, there are so many modes of chanting. The main summary of this is that it requires tremendous parishrama and intellect and memory to remember the padas that the boy may have learned from age 8 to 20, even at age 80, with all these swaraniyamas and all these pathas. So, if we learned something just a few hours ago, we already forget it now. That is the Manushya Swabhava, Vismritam. But knowing all of this and knowing that dharma is the root, Veda is the root of all dharma, Vedo khilo dharma moolam, and knowing that by doing rakshana of this shabda, Veda rakshana does not mean you buy all the pustakas and you do pustaka to puja to Rigveda pustaka, puja to Yajurveda pustaka. That is not Veda rakshana. Veda rakshana means you support the people that have learned Veda, and if you are capable of doing so, you have to learn the Veda yourself. So this is Veda Rakshana. So there are people that devote their entire life to this by becoming teachers of this. Swadhyaya pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. So don't leave from the Swadhyaya or learning and pravachana. The teaching of the Vedas is what the Upanishad says. So this is just the Mahima of Vedas and the modes of Vedic chanting. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.
Dhanyasmi, Pranavji. This is such an enlightening talk, and thank you for detailing the kramas